Emerald, the gentleman's instinct.
The fifth match of the 2022 Asia Cup will take place between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh on the 1st of September. This do-or-die encounter will be the 13th clash between the two teams, with Sri Lanka having the upper hand with 8 wins so far and Bangladesh winning 4. Both teams suffered heavy losses against Afghanistan in their first match of the tournament. As Afghanistan have already booked their spot in the Super 4 phase, this clash will be a virtual eliminator between the two teams. Sri Lanka, who got blown away by Afghanistan in all three departments, need to make a solid comeback if they are to beat the Tigers. Although Bangladesh had their moments during the clash against Afghans, in the end they didn't have the bowlers to get the job done. Both teams are missing two key players of their lineup. For Sri Lanka is their trump card pacer Dushmantha Chameera. Due to his absence, Sri Lanka are forced to go with a pace bowling attack that has next to no experience in the format. For Bangladesh, it's their inform opener Liton Das. He became one of the main match winners for them in the last few years, and his absence is a huge blow to their top order. The last time these two teams met was back at the ICC T20 World Cup last year, where Sri Lanka won the match by 5 wickets with 7 balls to spare, chasing a target of 172. The Sri Lankan top 3 had a horrible time against Afghanistan, as all of them were back in the pavilion in just 2 overs. Sri Lanka will be hoping that the same won't happen on Thursday and the top order will fire on all cylinders. Another big issue which Sri Lanka needs to address is whether they will continue with the two young pacers Matisha Patrana and Dilshan Madhushankar. It was a big call the selectors made when they decided to go with the two debutants against Afghanistan. But unfortunately for the youngsters, there were not enough runs on the board for them to make any sort of impression, as the Afghan batters punished them without any pressure. Another key area which Sri Lanka will need to take a look into is whether Danushka Guntilaka would continue to bat at number 4, or whether Dhananjay De Silva or Ashin Bandara would get the nod ahead of him. Just like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh's top order faltered big time against Afghanistan. With the absence of Liton Das, Anamul Haq, who is returning to the side, has a huge job on his shoulders. The bowling is a much talked about topic in this tournament. Even though their spinners had a good match and they nearly made a match out of nothing against Afghanistan, the pace bowling was the point which they lost the match at the death. So it will be interesting to see whether they would go with 3 quicks or add another spinning option against Sri Lanka. Kusal Mendis is expected to retain his spot as the opener in the upcoming match, while Danushka Guntilaka will most probably return to open. Sarit Asalanka will bat at number 3, while there's every chance that Dhananjay De Silva would make a return to the side in place of Pathum Nishanka to bat at number 4. In the bowling, the real question lies whether Sri Lanka would go with the two young pacers once again for this match, or Asitha Fernando could make his T20 debut if they choose to make a change. For Bangladesh, their concern will be the batting of the top order, and there's every chance that Sabir Rahman will make the cut in place of Anamul Haq, along with Nazrul Mohammed, who is likely to replace Mohammad Saifuddin.
Discover your Dara.
For Sri Lanka, Bhanuka Rajapaksa was the only top order batter who looked in touch against Afghanistan. With his hard-hitting ability, he will definitely be the go-to man for Sri Lanka to provide the middle order muscle. Rajapaksa also had a memorable knock against the same opposition during the T20 World Cup last year, and the Sri Lankan fans would be hoping that he could replicate that once again. Sarit Asalanka, the star batter for Sri Lanka during last year's T20 World Cup, scored his highest T20 score so far against the same opposition. After departing for the first ball duck against Afghanistan, Asalanka will be keen to make this a big one. Whenever Bangladesh are playing against Sri Lanka, the man who always comes into action with the bat is Mushfiqur Rahim. Rahim scored a destructive 50 against Sri Lanka during their last meeting, and taking his wicket is something that can become a headache for the Sri Lankans. The weather forecast for Thursday is a sunny one as expected in Dubai. As we saw during the previous games, the humidity will certainly be an issue which a lot of players will have to face. During the last 15 games, this ground has become popular as a venue for chasing teams, as 14 out of the last 15 have been won by the side batting second. So whoever wins the toss will most probably look to bowl first and chase a total down.